here with another, I think this is the third session of our weekly webinar about Philippine tax. And of course, for today, some of you already knows Jack kasi siya talaga nag-discuss last time. Maganda yung mga feedback and info sa atin ni Jack. So once again, for today, the topic would be the role of invoices in bookkeeping and tax reporting, a practical guide. Of course, without further ado, Jack, take it away. Where are you?
Hello, wait, grabe, liwanag dito sa lugar ko. Parang kinakain po ako ng liwanag. But
Wow.
anyway, good afternoon po sa ating lahat. I'll just turn off my video kasi sobrang liwanag po talaga. I'll be sharing now my screen. Hopefully you can now see my screen. Can you now see my screen? Okay. So, the role of invoices in bookkeeping and tax reporting, a practical guide. So, for today, we will talk about the following. First, the updates under Ease of Paying Taxes Act. Next, how do we report this particular invoicing or invoice? And then lastly, bookkeeping regarding invoice. So let's start first under Yokta updates. So the prior rule is that before, if you are a seller of service, we issue official receipt. And if you're a seller of goods, you issue sales invoice. But now under Yopta, whether you are a seller of goods, properties, services, use or list of properties, you will only issue one particular item. And that is known as your sales invoice or your invoice. So under RR 7-2024, there are now two categories of invoice that could be a principal invoice or purely a supplementary document. So what is a principal invoice? A principal invoice is a written account evidencing the sale of goods and or services in the ordinary course of business. Whatever term you may use, as long as it is an invoice, that is your principal invoice. Now, for other items not bearing the term invoice, we call it supplementary document. So by now, if it is official receipt, that is merely a supplementary document. And if that is a supplementary document other than invoice, for the purposes of that, supplementary documents are not valid proof of input taxes. Therefore, if you receive a document that is a supplementary document and not a principal invoice, so let's say you receive now official receipt, that is not a valid proof of input taxes. Therefore, you cannot claim input taxes. So anything that is termed as an invoice is known now as principal invoice. That could be a sales or commercial invoices. It is now referred to as invoice under RR 3-2024. Another update under YOPTA under VAT invoicing. So under RR 7-2024 Section 3B-2, the total amount includes the VAT provided that the VAT amount is shown separately. The sale classification is properly printed, whether it is VAT exempt, is it zero rated or VATable. The date of transaction, the quantity, the unit cost, and description of goods or properties or nature of service. And in case of sales in the amount of 1,000 or more, where the sale or transfer is made to a VAT-registered person, the name, address, and PIN of the purchaser should be included. Okay, so what does this mean? Particularly whenever we talk about invoice, dalawa lang naman po yan. It's either we receive the invoice or we issue the invoice. Now, if you are the issuer of the invoice, whatever is the amount included there, assuming you are a VAT-registered taxpayer, that is inclusive of VAT, as long as the VAT amount is shown separately. But if the VAT amount is not shown separately, then it is not deemed to be inclusive of VAT. Also, you need to classify it, including the date of transaction, the quantity, whatsoever. Now, if you're the one who is receiving the invoice, then the name or your name must be included in that invoice, the name of the VAT registered person, including your address and your TIN. Now, what is the effect of lack of information? So, assuming ikaw yung nag-issue ng invoice, and then the VAT amount is not shown separately, then the total amount is considered exclusive of VAT. At the same time, you are liable for non-compliance with the invoicing requirements. And if you are liable for non-compliance with invoicing requirements, you all know that you will be subjected to surcharge or to penalties, or to, of course, compromise penalties. Now, if you are the receiver of the invoice and the name or the VAT registered person name is not included, including your address and your TIN, what is the effect? Now, if you are the purchaser, you can claim the VAT amount as long as if the sales invoice with lacking information has the following, or it does not pertain to the following: amount of sales, amount of VAT, the name of the purchaser, the description, and the date of the transaction. So let's say, for example, this is RR7-2024, ang hindi niya naliglagay doon sa invoice ay yung address. So if ever you are the purchaser, hindi na ilagay yung address mo doon, can you claim the VAT amount? Yes,
Yes.
pursuant to RR3-2024, because as long as the following are present, so if ever yung amount ng sales, yung VAT, the name, the description, and the date of transaction is present, you can still claim the input VAT. But if not, then you cannot claim the input VAT. So take note, the invoice here, it has a dual effect. Of course, the first one is the one who issues the invoice, that's the seller. The second one, of course, is the one who will now use that invoice, that is the purchaser. So on the seller, you are now liable for non-compliance if one of the informations required under the invoicing is not present. And on the part of the purchaser, assuming you are a VAT registered taxpayer, you cannot claim the input VAT. Another update under IOPTA. So under prior rule, the book of accounts shall be preserved for a period beginning from the last entry in each book until the last day within which the commissioner is authorized to make an assessment. So under the old rule, you need to preserve your book of accounts and your accounting records for 10 years. So in short, yung mga invoices po natin, yung mga OR natin before, kailangan natin siya i-keep ng 10 years. But now under IOPTA, which was effective last January 22, 2024, the book of accounts shall be preserved for a period of 5 years, including the accounting records. So in short, prospectively po, since 2024, so by 2029, you can now dispose, or by 2030, you can now dispose of your book of accounts and your accounting records. That is pursuant to IOPTA, because the preservation of book of accounts and other accounting records now is only down to 5 years. As compared before, it is 10 years under RR number 17-13. But now, it is down to 5 years. Next, under issuance of invoice. So before, you need to issue an invoice for an amount of 100 pesos. So halimbawa po may sale tayo ng 100 pesos, kailangan natin mag-issue ng invoice. But now, under IOPTA, if ever the amount is 500, you need to issue an invoice, one invoice for each sale. If the transaction is below 500, the seller will issue one invoice for the aggregate sales amount at the end of the day if the aggregate sales is at least 500. So let's say, for example, meron po kayong sales, paunti-unti lang, 20, 30, 60, mga ganun. So if that's the amount, will we issue an invoice? No, because the threshold is 500. But if at the end of the day, it is more than, or it met the threshold of 500, then you need now to create an invoice, and that is your aggregate invoice for all of those amount of sales. But take note of this one. VAT registered taxpayer shall issue registered VAT invoices regardless of the amount. Now, if you are a VAT registered taxpayer, will the 500 peso threshold apply to you? No. Why? Because you are subject to output VAT. Hence, all of your amounts of sales should be properly invoiced. Regardless of the amount, you need to issue invoice. Another question, assuming nagbenta ka worth 100 pesos, you are a VAT registered taxpayer, pwede mo bang sabihin you will not issue an invoice? That is incorrect, because under IOPTA, if you are a VAT registered taxpayer, you must issue an invoice regardless of the amount. Another question, if ever the amount of your sale is 60 pesos, you are a non-VAT registered taxpayer, and yung bumibili sa'yo or the purchaser asks for an invoice. Question, can you refuse to issue invoice pursuant to the threshold that it should be 500 pesos? The answer there is no. So even if it is below 500 pesos na threshold natin for a non-VAT taxpayer, if if the purchaser asks for receipt, you need to issue a receipt or you need to issue the invoice. Why? Because that is tantamount to failure to issue an invoice. And a failure to issue an invoice is subject again to penalty. So, as a rule, if ever it is below 500, you don't issue an invoice. But if the purchaser asks for invoice, then you need to issue invoice. Next, if you're a VAT registered taxpayer, you need to issue an invoice regardless of the amount. Why? Because of the tracking of your output VAT. Furthermore, under IOPTA, this threshold will be adjusted every 2 years. So if ever there are changes in consumer price index or on the CPI, then this threshold will change. I will just clear the rule on issuance of invoice. Again, if you are a non-VAT taxpayer, 500 below 500, generally you cannot issue an invoice or you will not issue an invoice. But if the taxpayer will ask an invoice, then you need to issue one. Next, if you're a VAT registered taxpayer, you need to issue invoice regardless of the amount. I hope we are clear as to the issuance now of the invoice. The threshold now is 500 pesos. But for VAT, there is no threshold. You always need to issue an invoice. Now, since we already know the different rules regarding invoicing, let's look into the amount of penalties in case of your failure to follow the rules on invoicing. First, failure or refusal to issue receipts or invoices. You are subject to fine of not less than 1,000 but not more than 50K and imprisonment of not less than 4 years. First, violation of failure to issue receipts. If you will not issue receipt, then okay, when can you say that you failed to issue receipt? If ever the threshold is more than 500, you did not issue receipt, your first offense is 10,000. Your second offense is 20,000. But subsequent violations shall not be subject to compromise. Next, for refusal to issue receipts, mas malaki yung ating amount of penalty dito. So let's say for example, it is below threshold, you are a non-VAT taxpayer, humihingi ng resibo yung purchaser or yung kliyente, you did not issue. That is refusal to issue receipt. I told you earlier that if ever the taxpayer will ask for a receipt, you need to issue a receipt or you need to issue an invoice, whether or not it is below the 500 pesos amount. Because if not, your penalty is 25,000, mas malaki po. And your second offense will be 50K. If ever you did not follow the proper invoicing requirement, meaning the information we have discussed earlier, what is the effect if ever there is a lacking information? First offense, 20,000. Second offense, 50,000. Grabe po, no? Parang sobrang baba po ng threshold natin. But if you violate, you are considered subject to these penalties. So, mas mabuti nang alam po natin yung rules. Next, if ever you issue receipts that do not truly reflect and or contain all the information required, first offense, 5,000. Second offense, 10,000. If the duplicate copy of the invoice is blank, but the original copy is detached from the booklet, first offense, 20,000. Second offense, 50,000. If amount of the transaction stated in the copy is understated versus the amount per copy of the invoice issued to the purchaser. So let's say for example, so normally duplicate copy po ang ating invoice. And what you issued to the purchaser is 10,000 pesos. But on the duplicate copy, you made it appear that it is only 2,000. That is considered not qualified for compromise. You will be subjected to criminal penalties. Next, for use of unregistered receipts or invoices, 20,000 for the first offense, for the second offense, 50,000. And for the other items, that is now your CRM, that is 25 or 50,000 depending on the offenses. Now, we have the following sample invoices. So this is a sample invoice from EVAT seller. As you can see, we have here the date, whether it is a cash sale or a charge sale, the registered name, the team, and the business address. This pertains to the purchaser. The item description, the quantity, the unit, and the amount. And as we said earlier, you need to determine the type of sale, whether it is vatable sale, zero rated, and VAT exempt. And if that is a vatable sale, you need to show the amount of the VAT. And then we have here total sales, that is VAT inclusive, less the amount of VAT, we have net of VAT of 100,000. Less discount, senior citizen, PWD whatsoever, add VAT, and then less withholding tax, total amount due. So if ever it is a senior citizen, the requirement is that the ID will be placed here, or the PWD, the ID will be indicated, including the signature of the senior citizen or PWD. Why so? Actually, I encountered many businesses which accounts their senior citizen or PW discount incorrectly. How do you treat senior citizen or PWD discount? Because to be honest, there is no issue on issuing of invoice. I hope everyone knows how to properly issue an invoice. You just need to uh, place all the necessary information under the invoice. In short, lahat nung nandun sa invoice, lagyan mo ng details. But for that, you just need to classify it. Kung walang discount, edi wag kang maglagay ng discount. If there's a senior citizen, there must be the ID and the signature. So the question is, how do we treat senior citizen or PWD discount as to our tax reporting? So the answer there is provided under RR 5-2017. So how do we compute our discount? We all know that the discount is 20% of the amount net of VAT. So let's say, for example, the amount of sale is 1,120 minus the 12% VAT, that is 120. So the amount net of VAT is 1,000. So we have here 20% sales discount of 200. So total amount due is 800. So how will you report that? So you will report your sales. Ito po yung normal na pagkakamali natin. The sales should be reported at the amount of 1,000 pesos. The sales should be reported at the amount of 1,000. So the question is, how will you treat the discount? The discount should be treated as a deduction from gross income. So in short, it is part of ordinary deductions. It is part of ordinary deductions. So, hindi po siya net of sales. Baka po nire-report nyo yung sales ninyo at 800. Mali po yon. Ang amount ng sales nyo pa rin dapat ay yung 1,000, which is net of VAT. So sabi dito sa RR na to, it is allowed as a deduction from gross income for the same taxable year that the discount is granted, provided that the total amount claimed as tax deduction net of VAT, if applicable, shall be included in their gross sales or receipts for tax purposes and shall be subject to proper documentation. So in short po, etong 1,000, yan pa rin yung ire-report ninyong sales. Yung discount, yun yung ire-report ninyo as part of ordinary deduction. Yung amount of the claimed tax deduction net of VAT, if applicable, shall be included as part of your gross sales or receipt. Okay. So, for income tax purposes, the VAT exclusive amount should be the 1,000 pesos and not the 800 pesos. I hope this is now clear as to the proper reporting of the amount of sales minus the sales discount. Balik lang po tayo sa previous slide natin. Dun sa previous slide po natin, sabi kasi natin, okay. Sabi po kasi natin, ang sabi po natin kanina, meron tayong senior citizen discount dito. So what is the effect of that senior citizen discount or PW discount? And we said the effect of that discount is that it will be considered as part of our deduction and not part of sales discount per se. So only those sales discount that are not considered to be conditional can be claimed as sales discount. So I hope you can properly account now for the discounts, whether that is a sales discount provided unconditionally or a discount to senior citizen PWD, etc. Now, we are transitioning, pursuant to the train law, we are now transitioning to a new type of invoicing. So right now we are still using, or most of us are using paper invoices. But we have this concept of e-invoicing as provided under the train law. So during 2022, under the train law, there is now a mandatory e-invoicing for large taxpayer service or the top 100 taxpayers. So the top 100 taxpayers started e-invoicing, and it is also mandatory for government invoices. And come 2023, there is also a mandatory invoicing for business-to-business transactions for large taxpayers and exporters. So all of this applies to large taxpayers. And for 2024, there is now an extension of mandatory in-invoicing to the majority of the taxpayers. So mostly large taxpayers pa rin. So 2022 to 2024, most affected taxpayers here are the large taxpayers. But take note, based on the train law, we should shift into e-invoicing. So as time passes by, or let's say in the coming year, or 2025 or 2026, 2027, there might be now a law which now mandates all of us to shift to e-invoicing. Now, I just want to touch this invoicing because there is a specific invoicing regulation in the Philippines. And under the invoicing here in the Philippines, we follow these steps. You need to submit your invoices in either JSON or XML format with your digital signature. So in each particular e-invoice, you need to have your digital signature included there, and you need to submit that in either JSON or XML format. So these are file formatting, and you can, of course, get this one depending on the software provider for your e-invoicing. Next, you need to report your sales data within 3 calendar days of the transaction. So we call this one your e-sales. What is the effect of non-submission of your e-sales? Actually, under the law, the current amount of penalty for e-sales is that if you did not submit your e-sales, um, provided under the law within the due date, you are penalized 10,000 pesos per day. So if you are late for, let's say, one day only, that's 10,000. What if you are late for 7 days? That's 70,000 pesos. And under the law, also, you need to archive your e-invoices for a period of 10 years. So you need to keep it for a period of 10 years. But we are waiting for a clarification here with the BIR because this is provided under the train law. And under IOPTA, you should only keep your invoices for a period of 5 years. So there must be clarification on how we will keep our e-invoices. But as to this date, we just need to follow under the train law, it is 10 years. Also, there is an electronic invoicing certification portal wherein you need to submit your required documents before you can make use of e-invoice. So we call that your EIS certification portal. So going forward, we will be using e-invoicing here in the Philippines, and this might be mandated pursuant to the requisites or pursuant to the requirement under the training law. So just a heads up for everyone. Now, next part of our discussion is your tax reporting or your bookkeeping. So most of us, of course, are bookkeepers or freelance accountants. And normally, we all know that there are four required books under accounting. So under the BIR, you are required to register for books, general ledger, general journal, cash receipts journal, and cash disbursement journal. So those are the required journals for or books for a non-VAT taxpayer. But for a VAT taxpayer, you need to include sales receipts journal or sales journal and purchases journal. So let's start now under cash receipts journal. In a cash receipts journal, you are the one who is normally issuing a sales invoice. So what is a cash receipt journal? A cash receipt journal is a specialized journal where you record all your cash receipts before transferring the total amount to general ledger. And generally, it is your cash receipts comes from your sales. So it comes from the sale invoices that you issue. So the following are the usual data that should be placed under your cash receipts journal. So ito lang yung talagang kailangan nandun. Yung date, yung sales invoice number, yung particulars or description, yung amount, and other account titles relevant to the transaction. So most common na ginagawa dito to save time, they don't record it one by one. They record it per date. Just place the SI number inclusive of that date. So let's say, for example, on August 1, you issued sales invoice number 111 to, and the particular or description is XYZ, let's say, or to XYZ, and the amount is 10,000. So you just need to allocate that amount. So what are the debited amounts, whether it is a cash or an AR or a sales discount, return or allowance, or a senior citizen or PWD discount. And of course, the creditor is normally sales. So assuming we have here a 10,000 sale, we receive 2,500 and the 7,500 is a charge sale. So we place under the column of cash the 25 and the amount of AR 75, the amount of sale is 10,000. And another, let's assume on August 2, you issued a sale again, but it is now under a credit sale. You can place it under part of AR. And then under August 3, let's say it is purely a cash sale of 13,000 and your account creditor there will be sales. Mostly, meron yung iba na ang ginagawa nila is hindi sila naglalagay ng purely AR sa cash receipts journal, and that is correct also. You can place it under your general journal if ever there's no cash receipt. But it really depends on the accountant or the bookkeeper on how to properly maximize their book of accounts as long as the proper items are indicated therein. So under cash receipts journal, generally the accounts or the items that should be shown on your cash receipts journal pursuant to the regulations are the date, the sales invoice number now, the particulars or the description and the amount, and the account titles relevant to the transaction. So that's how they trace your sales invoice based on your journals. Another, if ever you're the one who will receive the invoice, of course, you can record that under cash disbursement journal. So a cash disbursement journal is a specialized journal where you record all your cash disbursement before transferring them to the general ledger. So under the regulations, what are the required items under your cash disbursement journal? So the date, the particulars or description, the amount, and other account titles. So normally your account titles here are your different expenses. So these are the accounts debited. So automatically, yung credit mo kasi dito ay yung cash. So you have your rent, let's say, you paid 10,000 for rent. So 10,000, and then you place it under the column of rent. Next, you paid 12,000 for transportation. So the amount of 12,000 and under the column of transportation. In short, kahit ilang columns pa po yan ng journal, as long as nandun naman yung normal na expenses ninyo, yun yung nandun sa mga columns natin for accounts debited. And once it is posted to your cash disbursement journal, then you need to place here the reference where you place that part. Once you place the cash disbursement journal to your general ledger, you place the reference or the paging here in case. And then we have here our utilities. So assuming you paid 13,000 pesos for utilities, then the amount here, 13,000, the SI number, and on the column of accounts debited, you have your utilities. So that is how we account for the sales invoices we receive. And on the other side, the sales invoices we issued. Next, special for sales journal. As you can see, for VAT, you are required to have a sales journal. It is a very special ledger where you record all your sales transaction. Actually, the sales journal is tantamount to your summary list of sales. So those who are preparing SLS, whatever are the information you need to input under SLS, normally should be the same with your sales journal. And what are those? The date, the TIN of the customer name, the address of the customer, the description, the sales invoice number, the amount, if there's a discount, the VAT amount, and the net sales. So these amounts must be included under your sales journal. So it is normally tantamount to what you place under your summary list of sales. So if ever you are preparing a sales journal, kindly please check the data presented under your sales journal. You might be missing an important item that must be located there, particularly the name of your customer, the address of your customer, and the description, including the reference or the sales invoice number. Why is it important? Because right now we have the concept of unpaid payables, and we have also uncollected receivables. If you were present during our last discussion or last webinar, we said if ever you have uncollected receivables, you can claim it as a reduction on your output VAT so long as it is properly reported under your SLS, including of course your sales journal. So, wag po tayong maglagay ng various customers, mga ganun po. Because if ever that is a various customer, you cannot claim the uncollected receivable. So it must be properly identified. So matrabaho nga lang, but if ever we want to comply and we can claim the output VAT deduction, then you must have a separate customer name and it is not lumped as one as various customers. Next, if we are, of course, now the one who receives the sales invoice, we need to record it in our purchase journal. So this is now a special ledger where you record all your purchase transactions. You need to write the additional information here, including the TIN, the invoice, and the input VAT amount. Why is this important? This is kind of your summary list of purchases. So whatever are the information you need to place under SLP, normally should be found under your purchase journal, particularly the TIN of the supplier, the SI number, the description again, and the supplier's name. Why is it important? Again, because we have the concept of unpaid payable, sorry. For unpaid payable, you can claim a decrease. Oh, so your input VAT, generally, let's say at the time of purchase, it is considered unpaid, so it is a charge purchase, you can already claim the input VAT. So, bumili ka on account, that is a charge purchase, pwede mo nang i-claim yung input VAT. Ngayon, halimbawa, hindi mo binayaran yung charge account na yan, anong magiging effect? Kailangan i-decrease mo yung input VAT mo. So, kung na-claim mo siya last quarter, next quarter, bawasan mo naman yung input VAT mo. That is now the requirement under the law pursuant to the Ease of Paying Taxes Act. So, in short, we need to properly be guided on the items we need to place under our books, particularly on the sales journal and purchase journal if you have VAT registered taxpayers, and to your SLS and SLP because it has an effect on your VAT returns, and also it has an effect on the claiming of your output and your input tax. So far, those are the things that I can share for invoices. How do we properly invoice? And the updates under IOPTA, under TRAIN, the tax effect of your invoice, and how do we properly maintain our books pursuant to the requirements of the law. So that's it, guys, for my sharing for this afternoon. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Jack. Do you have any more questions for Jack? Or pa-type 1 naman if you're learning today. Meron ba natutunan? Hi, Miss Angeline. Ayan yung mga naka-open ng cam. Pa-type naman ng 1. Or bago ba sa inyo yung learnings?
Feeling ko po hindi naman siguro bago kasi for sure yung iba po sa inyo, practicing accountant, alam na tong IOPTA. pero siguro yung mga details lang, yung mga details po na minsan nami-miss out natin, nakala natin hindi importante, lalo na po sa atin mga practicing accountant, pag deadline na po ng SLSP, aminin po natin, ang ilalagay po natin doon, various customers, ganun lang po tayo. So hindi na natin siya inisa-isa. So may possible effect po yun sa tax reporting natin, particularly sa VAT natin. So if ever, you just need to comply with the requirements of the law. Yes, Alma, Miss Alma, if you have any questions, feel free to type it
Yeah,
out.
regarding po dun, sir, sa giving senior discount na 20%. Kasi napapansin ko po dun sa mga resibo, no? Parang iba-iba bawat entity, depende sa parang company ruling. Nakita ko kasi sa inyo very simple, no? Naintindihan ko siya. Pero when it comes to auditing the receipt of clients, iba-iba. Minsan it does not tally, parang we have a hard time getting the VAT, ano yung base ng VAT, hindi po nagbabalance. Twice ko
Okay.
na na-encounter siya. May ruling po ba dyan?
Okay, ang required na rule is that the discount should be computed from the amount net of VAT. So baka po may mga nagkakamali na ang ginagawa po nila, kinukuha nila siya sa amount na may VAT pa. And if ever hindi niyo po makompute, baka yung buong sales hindi siya applicable sa senior citizen lang. So halimbawa po ganito, meron kang 112 pesos. 112 pesos po yung binenta natin. I'll share my screen para uh, mag wait po. Mag-share po ako ng
Sir,
screen para
yung
makita
gets ko
natin.
naman. So, dapat po pala doon sa mga nag issue ng receipts, para naka-detail din yung mga which one is exempt, na hindi siya dapat covered nung discount. Parang ganun po ba? Tama po ba?
Yes po, yes po. So halimbawa,
Okay.
ang sales natin is 112. This is VAT inclusive. So, ang gagawin po natin, ay, wait, masyadong maliit. This is VAT inclusive. And let's say, tanggalin muna natin yung VAT, less VAT. So, the VAT will be 12 pesos here. So, the amount net of VAT, sorry, it should be 100. Ngayon, doon sa bumili pala, apat yung regular customers, isa po yung senior citizen. So in short po, yung isang senior citizen lang ang madi-discount. So less sales discount to senior citizen. Halimbawa po ganyan. So 100 yan, lima po sila divided by 5, that is 20. And then 20% po yung discount dyan, so 4 pesos, so less 4. So the amount net of uh, net of discount will be 96. And then you need to add back the VAT. You need to add back the VAT. And the VAT added will be applicable to the four regular. So kung apat yung regular and 20 yung amount ng net of VAT nila, ang VAT is 12%, yun yung idadagdag mo dito. So this will be 4 times 20 times 0.12, that is 9.6. So the amount due will be this one, 105.6. Tapos ang lalabas po dyan, ay, ang vatable sale niya po is 80 and ang VAT doon ay 9.6. And then, lalabas po dapat na may exempt sale siya na isa, which is um, yung 20. Yun po. So, kumbaga ang exempt sale niya is yung 20 minus the senior citizen discount. So, eto po lahat yung total na, so this one, the sum of this one is, ayan po, 105.6. So, yan yung parang pag-account mo sa kanya. And then we have the amount due of 105.6. So, feeling ko po, marami lang din po kasi talagang hindi marunong mag-compute ng amount net of VAT.
Yun, sir.
Kaya
Yan.
Kaya nagkakamali. So dapat po
Opo.
talagang as part of our information campaign din dun sa ating mga clients, turuan natin sila kung paano mag-compute po ng discount. It is net of VAT. At saka po, wag silang papalugi. Pag meron pong pumuntang kliyente sa kanila, assuming you are a restaurant, ganun po, may kasamang senior citizen. Tapos hindi na senior citizen yung iba. Yung iba po, tinototal nila kung magkano yung total 20% nun. Hindi po because under the law, kung sino lang po, kung sino yung senior citizen, siya lang yung may discount. Actually nga po, kung ano lang yung kinain ng senior citizen, yun lang yung may discount. Pero if ever hindi natin siya matrace, kasi nga parang buffet style siya, i-divide nyo po kung ilan yung kumain. Doon nyo po kukunin yung amount ng discount and yung amount ng net of VAT. Napaka-importante po nung pagkuha ng discount kasi malulugi din yung ating customer. At the same time, baka hindi natin maklaim ng mabuti yung discount na yan kung sakaling mali yung ating mga computation. So, uh, it's our job as an accountant to help and inform our clients regarding this. Especially so na mostly po yung mga nag-i-issue ng resibo, hindi naman talaga accountant or accounting graduate. So, up to now, madami pa rin nagkakamali talaga dyan. So, thank you po for asking that question. At least meron
Thank
tayong
you din
example kung
po,
how to
sir, for a very
properly
thank
compute.
you din po, sir, for a very detailed explanation on how to come with the discount. But this is on the part of the buyer. Yung seller, okay lang po, no? We can teach our clients who are operating restaurants, but we are the one who is receiving the receipt, and yet ano siya, may mali-mali siya. Minsan may mga bura-bura pa. Sabi ko, pwede kayong turuan to. So, pero sir, thank you
Actually,
very much for a detailed
if
explanation.
if ever, ma'am, ganon, you can also ask that they will reissue a receipt on your end. So, ibalik mo yung resibo mo, ipa-cancel mo na lang sa kanila para mas maayos yung resibong mapupunta sa'yo. Kasi, syempre, if you will claim it as a deduction soon, baka magtaka pa si BIR, bakit bura-bura to? Bakit mali-mali to? Or if ever may bura-bura po, ang important na makita doon ay meron siyang counter signature. So, halimbawa, binura yung amount, dapat may counter signature po yung nag-issue para at least walang issue naman sa'yo if ever you will claim that as a deduction soon.
Yes, actually, sir, tinuruan ko na rin yung bali niya under the finance group na, o sige, prior to accepting the receipt, o you review ha, para by the time na i-audit ko, wala na tayong problema. So, yun po.
Yes
Thank you
po.
po.
Okay po. No problem po. So, yeah, thank you po again, once again, for inviting me here. Sana hindi po kayo magsawa sa mga sinishare ko po sa inyo and I hope you're really learning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, again, thank you so much. And once again, pero before that, again, this is our way of also teaching our community to use automated software. Andito ba si Ivy? Ivy, are you here?
Hello, coaches po. Andito po.
Ivy, guys, for those of you who doesn't know na ang Automate is one of the iCloud cloud software natin sa Pilipinas na tumutulong sa mga business owners na i-automate some of the repetitive tasks ng bookkeeping. Na-mention ko kanina nang wala pa kayo, maybe it's the best time also to discuss na ang medyo matrabaho sa atin yung pagpa-file ng alpha list, tama? Yung dot file old school, tama ba? Excel tas ililipat sa Alpali. So, automate is kinakat niya na yung ganong process. But ang gusto lang namin discuss sana ngayon, si Miss Ivy kasi is from CDO na ni-use na yung software ng automate. Maybe Miss Ivy, can you share to us ano yung experience mo using software right now? Any struggles or benefits?
For the software po, coach, kasi inaaral ko po siya, pero based on the ano ko, ang medyo struggle ako for the software is parang wala siyang batch downloads. Ang parang imports pa lang from just like sa QuickBooks Coach ba na meron tayong if you want to import kung gusto natin mag-import ng maraming transactions from Excel to the system. Um, maano lang natin siya through the meron silang parang format para mapasok siya sa system. Pero yan yung hinahanap ko ngayon, coach, sa nila sa system. Tapos pero so far regarding sa kasi kaya ako subscribe dito sa Automates because of that file po. Malaking tulong yung that file kasi hindi mo na siya isa-isahin pa input dun sa file ng ng BIR. So pag magamit ka ng system, mo lang siya, i-upload mo lang siya i-download mo lang siya yung nakalagay na diyan sa system, tapos i-upload mo yung that file dun sa BIR na file. So okay na yung yung filing mo sa BIR. So save time talaga siya.
Okay, thank you. Same po yan sa withholding tax, and soon meron din kami sa income tax. But anyway, we'll take note of that. Andito naman si Edward. Maybe we could have i-message siya na.
Hello. Hello
Ah,
po, ma'am. With regard po sa batch upload, actually meron po. Kung titignan nyo po yung sa sales invoice po, tsaka purchase bill, merong import yan po. Yan. Yan po yan. Yan po yung ano po. I-upload nyo lang
Sa
po yung
purchases po.
sa purchase meron din po.
Kasi
Yan
dito
po.
ako sa purchases ngayon eh.
Ganito po, ma'am. Dun sa
Meron po.
business function, punta po kayo sa purchases, and then, meron siyang parang maliit na button dito, yung parang drop down. You click that, may import bills from Excel, and then you just,
Okay. Ito
yes.
pala.
And on the part of the sales naman po, you have here, import invoices from Excel. And yun yung sinasabi po nila, I just want to show you. We have here the VAT. You can already generate the DAT file. Let's say that is for January 1, 2025 until March 31, 2025. Automatically, the system creates your DAT file. So you can just generate the DAT file. So once it is generated, it is normally downloaded. It is already formatted based on the DAT file required under the filing for the BIR. Same is true for the purchases. So lahat po nung parang nire-record natin for purchases, we can also generate, let's say that's January 1, 2025 until March 31, 2025. We can also generate the DAT file. And once generated, the DAT file will be downloaded. And that is not only the tax that is prepared by Automate for you. We also have your withholding tax. So we can now create your 2307, 0619E, 1601EQ, and quarterly alpha list of payees. So if you look into it, let's say sales withholding tax report. No, let's go to withholding tax, let's say.
Tanawa, Leo.
If ever you have purchases, so let's say you have purchases, I'll just look for a purchase here. So let's say you have your purchase on the first quarter. You want to issue 2307 here. Then you just click the action button, you generate the withholding tax, and a 2307 is generated already. So again, you don't need to go through the tedious process of filing using the BIR relief. So it was already placed here under Automate. Same is true with our business tax. We have percentage tax also, and we have VAT. And currently, we have here our income tax. We have income tax for individual and corporation, which now creates your income tax. So let's say you are an 8% taxpayer. Based on the details you have inputted on the system will create or get the data. And from that data, you can already generate your tax return. So here is the data generated by the system. So You have the following sales, etc. And this is your tax due. And you just need to generate BIR form. Automatically, your 1701Q will be populated. So as you can see, your 1701Q is already prepared for you. But of course, this one is for a separate discussion. If you are interested, I have here my peer from Automate, Mr. Edward, who can conduct training for you if you're interested with the system. Yeah.
Po.
Thank you so much.
And to add po, regarding sa DAT file, ang additional process lang po natin is to validate. So download, validate, tapos kung okay na po, pwede nang isubmit sa BIR e-submission. So yan po yung process.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that's another set of webinar. If you want, we could conduct another set. I think nagawa namin to before, but if you really want to one by one, and if you want to try our, especially sino dito yung mga accounting firm na, we have a trial period for you guys to try para we need your feedback on that. Like si Ivy, sinabi niya yun yung hinahanap niya, pero meron pala kami. So, if you're interested, please reach out to me para ma-assist kayo nila Edward and the team. Mabigyan kayo ng free trial and use our software. Fair enough ba yon? I think 30 days trial if I'm not mistaken. Tama ba, Edward? So,
Yes, ma'am,
yeah.
yes. And then after that, pwede po kayong mag-consider whether to avail yung 800 pesos package for non-VAT and 1.6 for VAT per company po. And meron pong offer for accountants po. Ma'am, yung I think approved na po yung package for accountants, yung sinasabi, pinopropose po ni Ma'am Aisha.
Oh,
Yung 2 for 1,000 for non-VAT, tapos 5 for 1,000 for non-VAT, and then 5 for 2,000 for VAT. Yun po yung sa ano.
okay. Ayan, sige, reach out kayo sa amin if you're interested, especially yung mga may kakilalang team. We encourage you to help us to promote this software because kung nakita niyo naman yung magiging dala niya sa business natin and to all business owners and accountant na rin. Tama ba? Sino bang pa-type naman ng sino yung nakitaan ng potential yung software? Pa-type naman ng 2 kung if you see the software is promising. And it is Philippine, Philippine, hindi kagaya po. Sorry I'm not, QuickBooks Zero, it's other country. But this one, Philippine setup na siya. So, mas align po sa atin. Tama po ba? Si QuickBooks kasi nililipat pa natin, tama? Si Zero. This one is not, nakaplat na siya lahat. And soon, malalaman nyo pa ba yung features. So, that's why we're so excited to share this software to you. And we see this software 2 to 3 years from now, we will go global. So if I were you, kayo na yung early adopter of this software kasi nasa inyo yung big opportunities. Okay, let's have a picture and thank you so much, Jack, for your time. Although na-segue tayo sa ibang topic, but we would like you to, Miss Alma, kasama kita sa kailangan kong kausapin kasi si Miss Alma is from PICPA, I think. Yeah, active sa PICPA. Sino of your PICPA members here? PICPA. We need someone from PICPA or accounting practitioner. Let me know po Picture tayo, then usap tayo how we can collaborate on the software. I'm Janet. Okay, in favorite yung picture taking I'll stop the recording. Baka